Can you make 2.5 times more money being the bank versus being the landlord? Stay tuned. Welcome to this week's edition of NoteSchool TV, where every week we bring you the most amazing content, and typically we bring you the most amazing guests. This week we're going to do, we try to do a lesson on what's going on out there in the business and what is working for our students at this point. So this week we're going to go through a lesson here on notes versus rents. But before we do that, let me get you to go ahead and like this episode. Yeah, go ahead and hit the like button. Share it with your friends. And just make sure to do that for us. It really helps us out as far as the number of likes. Then if you haven't already subscribed to the NoteSchool TV channel, please go ahead and do that. And then finally, hit that bell notification. Yep, go ahead and hit that so you will be notified as to when we go live every Wednesday at 11:05 Central Time. Again, every Wednesday at 11:05 Central Time. And if you want to know more about what we do at NoteSchool, then, just go to noteschool.com/TV. Again, noteschool.com/TV. Eddie is not going to be with us today. He is, he's out traveling the country, and I'm going to be traveling up to Michigan, to Grand Rapids tomorrow to the Michigan Rental Association's convention. I got a speaking spot there, and I'm going to be talking about the same thing there. So with that, let me bring up my slides, and we'll talk a little bit about, we'll talk about today's lesson and what it really means to you if you own rentals or if you don't, but know someone who does. So right now, we are working with our students, are working on, we're working on a lot of converting rentals to notes, right? Seller financing your rentals not to your tenant, right? And we're talking about selling your rental properties to a consumer, right? Somebody that's looking for a home, and not talking about a tenant being in a property. But what you have to realize is that your tenant, if they're paying $1,500, $2,000, $2,500 a month, and the house is worth somewhere between $150,000 and $450,000, they're certainly not paying. They're just not working out for landlords today because, we know that expenses have taxes have gone up probably 30%, insurance has gone up probably 50%. Every other expense that we have is gone up, and of course rates are where they are. I'm not going to say they've gone up, but they are where they are. Again, I go back to the old thing that, guys, rates are, I just looked, 6.93 is the rate for today, the stated rate on a 30-year fixed rate loan. And that is for a conforming loan. That's for the people that have, they have a 750 credit score. They have 20% to put down. Their debt to income ratio is right there, and they have W-2 income. Okay, we'll talk more about that in just a few minutes, but that's where they are right now as we stand. So we've got students that have sent us their information on their rental houses and what they're making on their rental houses versus what they could make if they then sold those houses to a consumer, to somebody who wants to live in the house, not to the tenant, because the tenant just wouldn't understand why they're paying $1,500 or $1,800 today, but their house payment would be $2,800 a month. And guys, again, that's just not something that correlates in their mind. So we're talking about somebody that wants to move into a house with their family, and it is their home. Okay, so these are we've got students doing it in Idaho, California, Missouri, North Carolina, Florida, and a lot of different towns in Texas. We have a lot of NoteSchool members in Texas. Our office is in Dallas. So we're going to actually go through one of the rentals that we talked about the other day with our one student that lives in the Venice, Florida area over on the west coast of Florida, about an hour and a half from where I'm sitting right now. So these are really what these properties, and this is the property that we're going to be breaking down here in just a minute, is a property that's in Venice, Florida, and the house is worth $350, and it rents for $2,400 a month. Okay, so we look at that, and then when we look at the cap rate, okay, so the cap rate is going to be the monthly rent minus taxes, minus insurance, minus management fees, minus reserves for maintenance, minus accounting, minus upkeep, minus yard maintenance, minus all the many things that is going on with a rental property, right? That's just the way it looks. And in this case, remember your NOI is going to be your monthly rent or your yearly rents minus your yearly expenses. And then when you look at that number there, that equals your NOI. So on a monthly basis, more than 50%, 52% of the income on a monthly basis is going towards expenses, right? Not debt service, but against expenses. So I want to make that clear. So your income minus your monthly expenses, yearly expenses equals your NOI. And then you would deduct your debt service from your NOI to get your net income. Okay, so we're not talking about your monthly payment on the rental. We're just strictly talking about your monthly expenses. Again, your taxes, your insurance, your maintenance, your reserves for maintenance, your yard maintenance, having to fix something, accounting, all the different things, all the different expenses that people forget about when they have a rental property, when they're thinking about how much they're really making. So what we know, and in this case, the cap rate on that particular, and you can see the cap rate on all 15 or so of these properties, right? They're all, well, this one, I think that one is in Texas. That's a 2.16 cap rate. But that's how much your return on your investment really is. So let's then look at this little house in Venice. And this is a nice area. It is a great little neighborhood. It's not very far from the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America, right? And one of our students owns this house. He has used it as a rental. Okay, he's used it as a rental. The last tenant moved out a couple of months ago. He repainted it, refreshed it, and he decided that, well, I'm going to put it on the market and I'm going to sell it with seller financing. So this house is, well, it's going to be a new note. It's going to close here in next week, actually. House is worth $350,000. So he's selling it for $350,000. His buyer, is putting $50,000 down on this, and he's creating a new 30-year note for $300,000. So $350,000 minus $50,000, $300,000 is the amount of the loan. It's a 30-year loan at 9.99. I'm going to stop there real quick. Some people are saying, well, or thinking that's a high rate. Well, if you're a perfect borrower, yeah, you're going to get somewhere between 6.7 and 6.9, right? But our target here is what we call a penalty box buyer. So a penalty box buyer are those buyers, well, they're probably like you and I, right? They could be a contractor, don't get a W-2 from a job. So they're a contractor, they're a gig worker, they're an I-10 borrower, here legally, but don't have a U.S. Social Security number. They're foreign nationals coming here that are buying. They have good credit, right? They have a good history. They have money to put down. But this is what we're talking about here with a penalty box buyer. Really, about 40% of the borrowers out there today are what we call penalty box buyers or non-conforming buyers. So non-conforming means that you don't have that W-2, right? You're an independent contractor. You are a 1099 person, right? You may make $1,000 this month, and you may make $50,000 next month. And that's what makes banks a little jittery. And it's just a ploy, right? So this particular borrower, they're going at 9.99. They've got a great credit score. They've got good credit. They've got a solid down payment that's right at a 15%. That's 14, right at 15%, just a little tick under that maybe. In their business, right? In their business, an RMLO, which is a residential mortgage loan originator. And that's who we make sure that these loans, when we're doing this, are Safe Act compliant, meaning that the borrower, the RMLO, the residential mortgage loan originator, has verified their income by looking at their tax returns. They're looking at any other statements they have, and they're looking at their bank statements to verify. So this business, their business brings in $11,000 a month. So this is the LTV, the buyer's loan to value ratio is 85%. So they put 15% down. They have an 85% loan. And our student that does this, he's a professional real estate investor, right? He used to buy houses and fix them and flip them. And now he still does a little bit of that. And he had a bunch of rentals, but now he is, as these folks are moving out, he's seen the light as far as what it really means to be the bank versus being the landlord. So he's converting his rentals over. So you say, why does it work? By the way, the payment is $2,630, and the taxes and insurance are $978. Yep. The insurance on that house is about $7,200 a year, and the insurance is about $3,500 a year, not including all the other, the other ancillary expenses. But that's the taxes and insurance. So their total payment's about $2,600 a month, $3,600 a month. But that, and you say, well, you can rent it for that, but you're not selling it to the tenant. You're selling it to somebody. This is what this house is worth in this neighborhood to a consumer that is coming in to buy a house and looking for a house. And so you say, how did he advertise that? Facebook Marketplace is one of the best places to do that. You can put it on the MLS if you want to, but great way to sell your property. So let's really talk some numbers. So here's what the borrower looks like, right? Here's what the loan looks like. So it's a 30-year loan at 9.99%. It's $300,000 is the loan amount, and the monthly payment, principal and interest, is $2,650. Now, let's get down to the nitty-gritty and talk about, let's talk about what it means to be the landlord versus being the bank. All right, so this house is worth $350,000. If you were going to buy that house, you would have to buy it for $350,000. So your house, your investment is $350,000. Okay, we'll get to the other side here in just a second. So the gross rent is $2,400 a month. His expenses, okay, not including debt service, runs $1,248 per month. So 52% of the income on this property goes to expenses, not including if he had a house payment on this. Okay. So the rental, the net income on this property as a rental, okay, he's netting $1,152 a month. And here's one of the things that I love that Eddie said here a couple of weeks ago. And of course, I'm stealing it from him, right? So, when you're a landlord, you have all the responsibility and you have you're all in, right? You have all the worries and all the responsibilities for the house. When you're in a syndication and control, so you have all the responsibilities, all the control, and all of that, right? When you're in a syndication, you have no control, but you don't have any problems, right? You don't have to deal with any of the problems. When you're the bank, you have all the control and none of the problems, right? None of the problems, all of the control. Okay, so we've agreed that the monthly payment on this house, the gross payment, is $2,630 a month. Okay, so you're going to have this loan service. Now, in most cases, you're going to have your borrower or your borrower is going to be paying this loan servicer. But we said, okay, if you had that expense, and what does the servicer do? They receive the monthly payment, they receive the taxes and insurance and all of that, and they manage all of that for $30 a month. So the net income, if you're the lien holder, if you're the bank, is $2,598 a month. Here's the other part of that, and actually that should be a 5. It's worth $350,000. I just finished these slides. So you've got, when you're buying the property, or you have no cushion, right? In this case, the house is worth $350,000. You're getting $50,000 down, right? So you're getting $50,000 down and $2,598 a month. So the difference between this and this is $1,446 a month. So understand, let me make this perfectly clear. You're receiving actually $2,598 a month. So guys, that is 2+ times what you would receive. You're receiving $1,152 here, with all the responsibility, with all the work, with everything else that goes along with being a landlord. Or you can be the bank and receive $2,598. Let's call it $2,600 a month, right? Yeah. So yes, so that's what that looks like. $2,600 versus $1,152. Now, which would you rather be? It's $1,500 more a month. Plus, remember, over on this side, you've got $50,000 cash today. Plus, you're making $2,600 a month. Now, $2,600 a month. I was just going to do a quick some adding there. 2,600 times 12 months. You're getting $31,200 a year out of that. Because some of you are probably thinking, but Joe, the price of the house is going to appreciate. Guys, is it going to appreciate more than $31,000 a year? You're getting $31,000 a year. So just understand that it's just, is it better to be the bank or is it better to be the landlord? I would rather have, well, $2,600 a month coming in than $1,152. Here, I have all the responsibility and all the control. Over here is the bank. I have all the control and no responsibility for the property. Borrowers paying for the taxes, they're paying for the insurance, they're paying all of those other things, the upkeep and all of that. So the real question is, which would you rather be? Would you rather have $2,600 a month coming in net, or would you rather have $1,152 a month coming in? Either way, it's 2.5 times, a little over, not quite 2.5 times as much, but it's more than double. And it's $1,446 more per month by being the bank, with none of the other problems that go along with that. So we've got the rental, the net income is $1,152. We've got the first mortgage, being a lien holder, a bank. You've got $2,600 a month coming in. So you've got 2+ times the return. And the only way that you can capture any of your equity in the property is to borrow against it and create a loan, right, at today's rates, or you sell it in many years from now, right? And then, of course, you've got capital gains you got to look at, and you've got recapture taxes. So all of those things, in this case, you're the bank. You're the bank. I'd much rather be the bank every day. So finally, the comparison, a rent house can be stressful, right? And it doesn't mean everyone is going to be stressful, but you know what I mean. Lower cash flow, very little cushion, very little cushion. You've got 100% of your dollars invested in the house, the $350,000, or you've only got $300,000 invested in the loan, right? Because you've got $50,000 down. So there's no stress. You got $50,000 today, $2,600 a month for the next 30 years. If they pay it off early, and hey, if they pay it off early, that's fine. We just go buy another note or create another note, and there's a better cushion there. So It's up to you, right? But we think that it's a wise decision to make, and you can convert the ones you want from a rental to a to a note, right? Become the bank, and then keep the ones you want to keep. I'm not saying you need to sell. Eddie's not saying you need to sell all of your rentals. I know most people that we talk to are doing that. I know that when it comes, most tenants or most landlords are somewhere between 65 and 85 years old, and they start thinking about later on. You know what I mean? And it is so much easier to pass a monthly payment over to your heirs than it is to pass a bunch of rental houses. Because I promise you, the kids your grown kids and don't want the rental. They want the cash. So with that, well, that's it, guys. I appreciate you being on this week, and hope you enjoyed the lesson today. And so we'll see you guys next week. Same place, same time, when 11:05 Central Time on Wednesday. And have a great weekend and take care. We'll see you next week.